So we're live. This is Atik, IELTS trainer here at Eduko Bangladesh. And today we're going to be bringing you a brief presentation on writing visual task. And we are doing this because a lot of our students face a lot of difficulty in this task. And we thought, why not share some basics on it. So without further ado, let us get into the presentation. So as you all know, the time allocated for writing task 1 is 20 minutes, but this is not a definite rule because you have to write a second task with a second essay in 40 minutes, and we don't recommend spending more than 20 minutes in writing task 1. So remember this. And the word limit for writing task 1 is at least 150 word, no less than 150 word, but we recommend writing up to 170 words. So remember this. And the third thing is in academic writing task 1, you have to write a report, and based on some different types of charts, diagrams, maps, table, and process. So you have to, they will be giving you a chart or diagram or a visual, and you have to write a report on it. So remember that you don't give your opinion. You just report the facts and trends and what is in the visual. So it's very important to remember this. So let us move on to the next slide. Okay. So before going into the commandments, I want to discuss about the task assessment criteria. So there are 4 criteria that you need to be careful on. So the 4 criteria are task achievement, cohesion and coherence, lexical resource, and grammatical range and accuracy. Remember, your marks are divided into 4 sections. These 4 sections each carries 25% of the mark. So what is task achievement? Task achievement requires you to cover all the requirements of the task. So task achievement requires you to write 170 words, and they are required of you to write a report. They require of you to not give your opinion, so things like that. And then moving on to cohesion and coherence, what is it? So this is basically logically arranging your ideas or information. So there have to be a flow in your report. So and that flow will come from the visual. So this is very important. And after that, there is lexical resource, which is the vault of vocabulary. How strong is your vault of vocabulary? Are you using adequate range of vocabulary? So this is what lexical resource means. And then last but not least, the grammatical range and accuracy. So this is basically they're trying to assess, are you using a complex range of structures? Are you using the right tense, or are you using the right spelling? So this comes into the grammatical range and accuracy part. So these are the 4 criteria that you will be marked against, and each carries 25% of the number. So you cannot do bad in each of these criteria. So remember, remember that you have to do well in all of these 4 criteria. Okay, so moving on. So now the 10 commandments. So what are the 10 commandments? The 10 commandment is basically 10 simple rules that you need to follow to get a decent score in academic writing task 1. So this is a very well thought and well designed 10 points that we have created here at Eduko Pathways Bangladesh to help our students to get the desired band level that they want to get in IELTS writing. So I will discuss each of them very briefly. So the first one is kind of self-explanatory. Keep it short and keep it simple. So as this is a short report, you only have to write 150 to 170 words. So you have to design your ideas, or you have to organize your ideas in a short space, or in a short 150 words, I mean. So do not write everything that is in the visual. Just identify some important trends and support that trend with the visual that you have on the screen. So do not write more than 180 word. So the second one is write a clear introduction, paraphrasing words from the question statement. So the first thing that you have to do in writing task one is writing a introduction. And what do you do in introduction? You just have to paraphrase what is in the question. So you're going to be given a question. Like, for example, I'm going to show you how this looks like. So this is a sample question. So look at the question here. The question is, the line graph shows the number of people affected by the Rift Valley fever in 3 countries in 1950. So all you have to do in introduction part is you have to paraphrase this sentence into your own terms, or just change some words and you can change the structure, paraphrase it in your own how you want. So that is basically what you have to do in introduction. And then identify the features that stand out. Let me go back into the question. So look at this question. What you have to do from here is you have to identify what is the main feature here. So as you can see, there are 3 countries that are mentioned here. One is Japan, Mexico, and Brazil. So look at the graph. 3 separate things has happened here. For Japan, the rate of affected people has gradually decreased, and for Brazil, it has gradually increased. So these are different trends, and you have to find out these trends, and you have to find out no more than 4 trends and write those trends in your 2 body paragraph that you're going to be writing. I hope that is clear. Okay, so then you have to write an overview. So what is the overview? Overview is basically a summary statement. You have to identify the trends. You have to summarize the whole visual into 2 or 3 lines. So this is very important. A good overview can take you over the line, because examiners, they really concentrate on how you're writing the overview paragraph. And in overview paragraph, you have to be very minute, and you have to just pick out the important or main trends and write them there. And then we will move on to the body paragraph. So you have written the main trends in overview. So for example, you have written 2 main trends or 3 main trends in your overview paragraph. So you have to plan that how you will incorporate these 3 main ideas into your 2 body paragraphs. So plan this beforehand, that how you're gonna incorporate these 3 main ideas into 2 body paragraphs. So from this point, as you're understanding that there are four paragraphs. First one is introduction, second one is your overview paragraph or summary statement, and then 2 body paragraphs. And very important point is, do not write a conclusion. Why? Because this is a report. You don't need to include your personal opinions here. You're not making an argument here. You're just seeing an image and reporting what's in that image. So very simple. And then use standard but relevant vocabulary. I want to emphasize on the word relevant vocabulary, because you might know a lot of important or a lot of sophisticated words, but if you don't use them in a relevant place, that will look very awkward in the eyes of the examiner, and examiner will know that you have memorized this word and you are desperate to use this word in your essay. So do not do this. Only write only write relevant vocabulary, and do not write the all difficult words that you have read somewhere or you have memorized. So very important. Do not use informal language or contraction. This is very important. In a formal setting, in a formal essay, you cannot write contractions. What are contractions? Contractions are like won't, can't. These are contractions. So do not write this. You write cannot, will not, like this. Then the next one is, try to eliminate your basic errors of grammar, spellings, and punctuation. Very important. As you have seen earlier, that there is a whole part named grammatical range and accuracy, which bears 25% of the marks. So if you commit errors, grammar errors like spelling, punctuations, or sentence structures, that will deduct a lot of your marks. So be very careful about it. And the last but not least, use appropriate connecting device. As you all know, what are connecting device? In this kind of report writing or essay writing, connecting devices are very important. So learn a lot of connecting device and learn how to implement them in your paragraph uh, with relevance. Use words like furthermore, moreover, however, things like that. There are a lot of good connecting devices. You just have to use them in the right place. Okay, so let's move on. Okay, so now we're gonna be talking about the recommended word allocation. So as we all know by now that you are recommended to write 150 to 170 words. So write no more than 30 words for introduction and write no more than 40 words for overview. And for the body paragraphs, the two body paragraphs, write no more than 110 words. So uh, the addition of this three introduction, overview, and body paragraphs, you're gonna get almost no more than 180 words. And there is a disclaimer here that for two visuals, like in some questions, you're gonna get two visuals, maybe one line graph and one bar chart. And when you get two visuals, you're gonna be getting more information, and in that case your word count will go up, most likely will go up. So there is no problem. You can write 10 or 20 words more in that case, but remember, do not write more than 190 or more than 200 words. Okay. Okay, so this is a sample questions. As I have shown you this before, there is mention of three countries and their affection rate of the Rift Valley fever in 1915. So look at this picture, how you can define these trends. For example, if I talk about Japan initially had a very high affection rate, but they gradually decreased until May, and from May to July they had a stagnant rate, and then it the rate has fallen drastically again. So, and for Mexico, you can see there is a lot of fluctuations in their affection rate. So this is very obvious that how these countries are getting affected by the rift fever. So you just have to look at this question, identify these features, that how this rift valley fever is affecting these particular countries, and just report what you're understanding from it. Very simple. Okay, so I will tell you three things that you have to remember, and I just want to remind you guys of these things. So first one is we talked about this: keep it short and keep it simple. Do not make it long. When you make a long paragraph, there you're more prone to making mistakes. And number two, you have to plan your paragraph right. You're gonna be writing one intro, one overview, and two body paragraphs, and then the last thing is avoid unnecessary details. Report only the main feature. Do not write all the information that you see on the image. Just only write the main features. Okay, so identify the main features, then plan how you're going to incorporate them into the body paragraphs. Okay, so that was the end of my presentation. If you guys have any questions, I'll take some questions and I'll try to answer them. Anyone? Yes, you definitely can answer task 2 before task 1, but I don't recommend it because for me personally, I practice writing task 1 first, and I think in task 2 you have to write a lot. So I personally think it is easy to write task 1 first, then move on to task 2. So as I talked before, Tanzila Razin Meme Apu has asked us a question: how many paragraphs should I write? So I have discussed this in my presentation that you should write 4 paragraphs: introduction, overview, and 2 body paragraphs. So that is all. Okay, the next question. Okay, this is a very important question from Tanzila Razin Mimapu. How do I select important points and highlight them? So for this, I want to go back to the uh, sample question that I have in my presentation. So look at this. You have three countries and separate things, different things are happening to those separate three countries. And you have to understand what is happening to each of the country. For example, Japan is having a gradual decrease, and in contrary to that, Brazil is having a totally opposite scene. They are having a gradual increase in their affection rate, and for Mexico, they're having a fluctuation. So this is the basic important trends that you have to identify seeing the visual, and I think just plan how you're gonna incorporate these three trends into two body paragraph. Okay. So next question, please. Yes, it is all right if you write more than 150 words. I have said earlier that you're allowed to write 170 to 180 words. It's not a problem. I think it's better even to write 170 to 180 words because it's better to be safe than sorry. How do Maruf Ashik Bhai has asked, how do I start during the test? So maybe he has meant that how will he start the test? So as you know that the first thing that you have to write is the introduction paragraph, and what you have to do in the introduction paragraph, you just have to paraphrase the question, nothing else. So that is how you start the writing, academic writing task 1. Okay, how do I plan the task? Very nice question. So before you start writing the question, writing the answer, you take 2 minutes to plan how you're gonna write your answer. So first thing is you know that you're gonna paraphrase the introduction. Then the overview paragraph. Go to the visual, identify 2 or 3 main trends, and write them and summarize them within the overview paragraph. Then you just write in your question paper that among those 3 main trends, how you're going to incorporate these main trends into 2 body paragraphs. So maybe you write the first 2 trends in body paragraph 1, then you write the last trend in body paragraph 2. This is how you plan your task in first 1 or 2 minutes. Then you start writing, because if you don't plan the task at the first, I think that wastes a lot of time. Yes, Asif Iqbal Bhaiya has asked, if I write only 140 words, how does it affect my score? It does affect your score. In that case, you're not fulfilling the task achievement, because the task requires of you to write at least 150 words. So if you don't fulfill the task achievement, I think your marks will get deducted. Okay, I think that is all. If you guys, okay, there is another question from Asha Afrin Apu. Is there any conclusion needed? Absolutely not. There is no conclusion needed, as this is a report writing. You don't need to include your opinions. You just report what is in the visual. Okay, any other questions? Okay, if there is no other questions, I think I'm going to conclude my presentation here. I hope this presentation has helped you, and I think we'll see you some other time. And that's all from me. It is Atik signing out. Thank you all.